Okay, so I'm recording this on a Tuesday night. Y'all are going to see it on Wednesday at some point. But yeah, if you guys are hearing this, it's because Grant Brix is the predictions are flowing in for Nebraska now. And if you were an Oklahoma fan, this is a recruitment that you really hoped Bill Bedenbaugh was going to win because Grant Brix' talent in this class was absolutely unmatched. And listen, he was Power 5 starter coming into college football wherever he went, sitting at a 6'5.5", 280 pounds out of Logan, Iowa. Grant Brix was the dude. But guys, we're here to talk about it. We're here to break it down and talk about the prediction that Steve Wiltfong and others have put in favor of Nebraska. Before we do that, guys, need you to hit that like and hit that subscribe button because we're going to talk about other options for Oklahoma at the offensive line position. Because if you're Oklahoma, you still need to get at least one more guy in this class. And so far, it's not looking too great. So I need to hear from y'all, and I need y'all to join the discussion. Let's keep it civil, though. I don't want any hate towards Grant Brix or ill towards his family. I know sometimes fans can get a little crazy. Don't want any of that in the chat. All right. So the predictions have been flowing in for Grant Brix. Steve Wiltfong submitted his. You saw Josh, and I believe it's pronounced if I can say it right, tongue twister. McCushion. He flipped his prediction to Nebraska, and I would assume that, hey, you know what? If those two guys are flipping their Nebraska predictions, other insiders across the industry, especially well plugged in ones, are going to flip their predictions as well. And so, one, this is an absolutely tremendously big win for Matt Rule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. If you look at what the class that Matt Rule and Donovan Raiola and the staff have put together, well, they got the top 50 player in Carter Nelson out of Ainsworth, Nebraska. Remember, that was a recruitment not a whole lot of people knew about. They got Daniel Kalen out of Bellevue, Nebraska, the 3-star quarterback. They got Isaiah McMorris. You might be familiar with that name because that was a former OU target. They have the number 25 overall class without Grant Brix. So Nebraska has quietly put together a really good class in a season where, hey, they might go bowling. We're going to talk about that another day, though, because I got some words about Nebraska and what they're doing there. So if you're a Nebraska fan, you are excited about where this program is heading and where Matt Rule has it going. Now, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're upset because this was a recruitment that, although he hadn't made a decision, it kept getting pushed off. You really felt like Oklahoma was the leader at all times. And although Nebraska would try to make some pushes, you thought, you know what? Bill Bedenbaugh and the staff, they're going to come out victorious on top. No, Nebraska gets the victorious prediction from Steve Wiltfong. And so the question is, where does Oklahoma go now at the offensive line position? Because you've missed out on quite a few targets in this class. I mean, you got guys like Caden Massey going to Kansas State, but luckily you got guys like Daniel Akakumi, you got Isaiah Autry, so you feel good about it, but you'd still like to have at least one marquee offensive line guy. You didn't get Andrew Sprague, you didn't get Marquise Easley, you didn't get Bennett Warren, and I mean, there are 5-star guys that, hey, Oklahoma hasn't landed either, like Weston Baker. Yep, you guys remember him? So I look at it and say, what's left on the table for Oklahoma? Well, not a lot. And I think names that maybe Oklahoma circles back around to, if they really want to push for it, you got Casey Poe, the 4-star offensive lineman out of Lindell, Texas, currently committed to Alabama. Listen, in-home visits are going to start. And, maybe this is a guy that you can convince. At one point, he was really high on Oklahoma. Maybe you can go in there and convince him again to rethink his decision, rethink his commitment to Bama. Now, I look at it and go, there's still one target on your board that every Oklahoma fan would love to have. And I'm not going to say it would supplement the loss of Grant Brix, but it would definitely help. And that's the 4-star offensive lineman, Eddie Pierre-Louis, at 6'3", 335 pounds. This guy, listen, he might not be Power 5 ready. He might not be ready to hit the field for Oklahoma the first year, but this is the guy that you want in your offensive line rotation. And so if you're Oklahoma at this point, you got to go balls to the wall for Eddie Peer. Now, I talked to you guys yesterday about Eddie Peer, and I said, hey, if you're Oklahoma, you're not feeling great, but you feel like you're probably top 2 right now. And Miami was making a push, but listen, UCF, they're always going to be in this recruitment, and there's still a good chance that UCF lands that commitment. Now, if you're Oklahoma, though, you should be able to beat out a UCF or a Miami or any of these schools. I mean, maybe not Oregon, but development piece wise, nobody is going to be able to compete with you, especially if you put out as many offensive linemen into the league that we expect you to this year. So Eddie Pierre-Louis still on the board, one that you need to look at. David Stone, I would expect he's probably going to get on this recruitment even more than he has with Jordan Seaton, the 5-star offensive lineman out of Bradenton, Florida, because if you're Oklahoma, you need to make a splash. And if you get Jordan Seaton, that definitely supplements the loss of Grant Brix. And if you add Eddie Pierre-Louis to that, and I know some of you guys are going to go, hey, well, this is wishful thinking. I don't want to hear the hopefulness here that we're going to land a 5-star offensive lineman. I get it. I understand where you guys are at because I feel the same way. It feels like anytime Oklahoma has a lead for somebody, they just end up losing out and just the most ridiculous ways. And you don't feel like Oklahoma should be losing out on guys like this. So I look at it and say Jordan Seaton, that's an option. And then I go through and I just look at other guys that are committed in other places. Maybe a Gage Ginther that is committed to Tennessee out of Fort Collins, Colorado, 6'5.5", 287. You got Daniel Cruz committed to Texas. You're probably not flipping him. So not a lot of targets on the board, but Oklahoma can go after a few. They're going to go hit the portal. And there are going to be portal offensive linemen that, they have produced really, really well. But the thing is, maybe they just need that extra sliver of development, kind of like Walter Rouse. And they say, hey, Bill Bedenbaugh's I've only got 1 year or maybe even 2 years left of eligibility. So I'm going to go be coached by one of the best offensive linemen that there is. And that's kind of what the situation was with Walter Rouse. And although NIL was a part of his decision, you could see Oklahoma definitely make a push in the portal. One more guy, though, you need to be paying attention on the recruiting trail that Oklahoma try to go out there and flip. And this is a name that maybe you haven't heard in a while, but it's a name that Oklahoma was flirting with before. And that is going to be Fox Crater out of Vancouver, Washington, currently committed to Oregon at 6'6", 285. If you guys remember, there was talks about him visiting Oklahoma. This is a name that you're going to want to watch. Oklahoma's flirted with the idea of getting him before, and now you want to be able to try to see if you can get him again. So, guys, I want to hear from you, and I want to hear what y'all's thoughts are. So make sure you're joining the discussion. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are about all these predictions flowing in for Grant Brix to end up as a Nebraska Cornhusker. And then what do you think about some of these names that Oklahoma could go after on the offensive line in the in the 2024 cycle, or maybe guys that you think might enter the transfer portal? I'd be interested to hear from y'all. So join the discussion. And if you haven't already, hit that like and hit that subscribe button.